and salutations. Please allow me to welcome you to Masterpiece Theater. I'm your host, Obba Babatunde, and here on Masterpiece Theater, we celebrate the very best in the spoken word, the written word, and the word expressed in song. In addition, we pay tribute to the talented artists that bring those words to life. Each week here on Masterpiece Theater, I have the pleasure of engaging brilliant artists in one-on-one conversation that explores the great treasures and these writers and actors and singers and dancers possess as we spotlight their artistry that illuminates us all. So I say, a very warm welcome. And I am thrilled to have you back here with us. Thank you so much for tuning in here on Masterpiece Theater. Obba Babatunde here, your host. And I am extremely excited today because on air and in studio, I have with me one of my dearest friends in the world. We go back quite some time, and we have a lot of fun. We've experienced a lot of great things together that we'll talk about today on the show. And what's special about having this kind of friend in the studio is I get an opportunity to share with the world population, not just from their work, but who they are as a human being. And you know, it's really important to me that this information be disseminated to the world population. The gentleman who I speak of is the great Mr. Bill Duke. And for those of you that are not live streaming, you might know him from his work in Hoodlum Deep Cover, Sister Act 2, Rage in Harlem, and some of those who might be around the same maturation as myself and others, movies like Car Wash. Bill, thank you so much for being here today, man. Love you to life. I'm thrilled that you're here. Thank you for taking the time to stop by. This man is busy.
So, it's my great pleasure to be here, my brother. How are you today?
You know, Bill and I go back quite some time.
You say go black? What did you say?
Yes, B-A-C-K.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is going to be interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, this is going to be a good one today, ladies and gentlemen.
You got to enunciate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Radio.
Yeah, you know, I'm dealing. You know, Bill is my senior mentor here. I came into spending time with him and working with him on a production that we did in New York years ago in 1970. That's how far we go back. And we did a production that was one of the finest theatrical experiences I've had to date. It was written by the great Garrett Morris, who we've had on the show, directed by the sensational and my guest today, Mr. Bill Duke, and a host of brilliant characters. Do we have some folks in that play or what?
Some great actors and good people.
Yeah, great human beings. It was a different time. This piece dealt with what it is that one man's life is. His name was Alex Amalu.
Yes.
And the title of the play is The Secret Place.
Secret Place.
The Secret Place. And Alex, or Amalu, relative to where he is in his particular life, he was a private investigator who was assigned to take on the infiltration of a militant group called the Young Lions. And Frank Adu.
Oh, brilliant!
Man, he just brought this piece to life. And Bill and I have been talking about it with Garrett about taking this play and turning it into a screenplay so that we can bring it to the world population. But there's some other things that I want to share with you about my brother. One of two people that I know who actually survived a plane crash, and I got a call from him after the experience. And the reason I want to talk about this a little bit today is because I would expect that he would be able to share with us that after experiencing a plane crash, living through it, how that might have affected change in his life. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but as I recall this, it was you were in Hawaii.
Yes.
And they were flying, you know, he was in what they call a puddle hopper, where they take you a jetty from one island to the next. And he called me and he said, hey, man, I was on the plane and I was going from one island to the next. And we had some macadamia nuts, and I was sitting back and I was eating the macadamia nuts, and the plane all of a sudden, all of a sudden it was just like a, and it was like, whoa, hey, what was that? And the plane continued to fly, and then all of a sudden a little bit more of a, and then silence. And Bill said to me, he said, I looked out of the window and I saw the ocean coming up very, very fast. And then all of a sudden, bam, we crashed. Actually crashed into the ocean.
And I don't swim.
And Bill does not swim. He said that his seatbelt remained on, but the chair, the seat that he was sitting in, ripped up off the floor. So now he's lying on the floor of the aircraft in his seatbelt. The pilot comes in and says, everybody, you got to get out. Bill was in the exit door. He said to him, sir, you got to get out of the way. He said, well, my belt. And so the guy came over and bam, hit the belt. He fell out of the chair. Upon which then the pilot opened the door and people began to pile out of the car, out of the airplane with their life jackets. Bill still sitting there, dazed and confused. The pilot said, put your life jacket on. Bill said to me, he said, Obba, there were 2 strings on either side that you tie. There might as well have been 100 strings. He said, man, I didn't know which way to make a loop. He said, so I got this life jacket on, and now I'm standing. People have jumped off the wing and they're in the water. And I'm standing there, and I say to the pilot, I can't get in the water. I don't swim. And he said, you got to get out. He says, no, you don't understand. I don't swim. And he said, then he heard the pilot say, if you don't get off, you will be caught in the undertow. He said, I knew what that meant. So I jumped. And when I did, because the life preserver wasn't tied, it just went up, and I went down, and I came up, and then I went back down again, and I came up. And the last time, I sort of just grabbed and held on to the life preserver. There was a man whose wife was still in the aircraft. And he began to scream, my wife, as the plane began to submerge. And the pilot, as reported to me by Bill, said, I'm sorry, I've done all that I can do. And the plane went down. Well, this man did not have on a life jacket either. Now he's flailing and heading toward Bill. Am I right?
It's true.
He's flailing and heading toward Bill, and he said, Obba, I don't know for whatever reason, but I said to him, sir, if you stop flailing, you can share my life preserver. And he said, and just like that, the man's calmed down, and now they're hugging each other with this one life jacket. And he says, I'm kicking my legs now, thinking, well, how long is it going to be before the sharks come and eat us? And then someone said, look, a boat. And he said, and I looked in the direction that she was pointing, and I saw a boat. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, isn't this interesting? When you're about to die, in whatever circumstance and situation you're in, you see that which would be the vessel that would come to rescue you. Well, in this case, it was probably true. Because 1/4 of a mile from where that plane went down in the middle of the ocean on that day, it just so happened that the Coast Guard was doing rescue maneuver practice. And they saw the plane go down. They came over. The guys had all of the equipment. They jumped into the water. They went down, cut the lady out of the airplane that was still in there, brought her back to the surface, brought her back to life. And how many people on the plane?
12, including the pilot.
12 included the pilot. 12 people went down, including the pilot. 13 people, and 13 people went home. Now I'm going to let Bill tell you, when he got back to the hotel, when I got the call, what he said. What'd you tell me when you called me, Bill?
I forgot exactly what I told you.
He said, oh, hey, man, I was just in a plane crash. And I said, yeah, because we joke around all the time. I was like, yeah. He goes, no, man, I'm really serious. I was just in a plane crash. And I said, Bill, stop playing around. He said, no. And then he told me the story, just as I've recounted it to you. And he said, man, my life is different. I view life differently, Obba. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, it's all different now, man. It's all different now. And I think from that point forward, life has been different.
You know, one thing I wanted to tell you that happened as we're coming back in the boat, I'm sitting next to the pilot, and the pilot who saved my life. If it wasn't for not his instructions, I would not be alive today. He was calm. And I'm sitting there, he was white, pale, around 6'2", Ichabod Crane. He had black hair with gray streaks in it, with blue eyes. And I'm sitting next to him on the boat. And halfway back to shore, I tap him. I say, hey, man, you know, I just wanted to thank you. I said, you saved my life. I said, I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. And you were calm, and you saved my life. You instructed me what to do, and I wanted to just thank you for that. So in the calm voice, he says to me, I appreciate what you just said, but with all due respect, I don't know what you believe in. He said, but I'm a Catholic. I believe in Jesus Christ. He said, so whatever you believe in, don't thank me. Thank that. Then he turns away from me. Then he looks at my face and grabs my arm, and he starts crying like a baby. And that moment changed something in me. You know, I'd always kept God in this box. You know, it was a belief box. This is what God is, you know, when I go to church and I do this and that. Well, that day, God jumped out of his box, you know.
Yeah.
He jumped out of my box, you know. So when people say, well, do you believe in God? I said, no, I don't believe in God. They say, why? It's like, because I know God exists.
That's right. There you go.
I have evidence, because I didn't do that.
Yeah, man.
I didn't do that.
Now, we also know that as a result of that life turnaround, that some different choices start to be made in your life, right? We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk to more Mr. Bill Duke about some of the changes that took place in his life as a result of this sort of happening, if you will, and the epiphany that then took place. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey, are you tired of those same old energy drinks with bad taste? Make a switch to Pit Bull Energy Drink with a guaranteed no aftertaste. Pit Bull offers more energy with ginseng and vitamins B6 and B12. With a ginger ale lemon lime flavor, Pit Bull meets the consumer's demand for better tasting and healthier energy products with a guaranteed no aftertaste. Make a switch to Pit Bull Energy Drink. Pit Bull offers more energy with ginseng and vitamins B6 and B12. With a ginger ale lemon lime flavor, Pitbull meets the consumer's demand for better tasting and healthier energy products. For more information on Pitbull energy drinks, bars, and mixes, visit their website at hiphopbev.com. That's hiphopbev.com. Online orders available at hiphopbev.com.
All right, we're back. And with my guest, Bill Duke, Obba Babatunde here, your host. So we were talking about the fact that Bill survived this airplane crash. And in doing so, there's some life changes or decisions for life changes took place in his life. But I want to talk about it in reference to our careers. Because I think you'll agree with me that relative to how we go about doing our work, is relative to a sort of the things that we include based on where we are in our lives. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. So this was before or after Car Wash?
This was after Car Wash.
Right. Now, in that character, Abdullah, that you played in Car Wash, right? Talk a little bit about just the coming together of that particular cast, because the reason it's important for our listening audience is to understand the differences of what we had available to us at that time and what it is that we have available to us now, but what magic was made with the limited aspect of what we had. And we'll talk about some of the people involved in Car Wash, and our director. Why don't we talk about a little bit about it?
Well, basically, I was involved at that time in the Negro Ensemble Company in New York. Mm-hmm. And, that was really, well, you were there, so you know the importance of that, and Bobby Hooks and Douglas Turner Ward and all those people. And I met my good buddy Michael Schultz, who and I are still friends, one of the greatest directors and greatest human beings that you could ever meet. And he had gone off to direct. He's supposed to take Dream of Monkey Mountain to the Olympics.
Yes.
But he couldn't do it, and so he asked me to take over. So I directed it for him. We went to Germany for they call it Olympiaspiele in Munich. But the film that he had to go off and direct was called Cooley High. Remember that?
Yes, indeed. Great Glenn Turman.
Right.
And, Lawrence Hilton Jacobs. Yeah,
and
brilliant cast.
So, and based upon the success of that movie, he was asked to direct another movie. And my mentor, Lloyd Richards, had brought me out to Los Angeles, and so I stayed. And we were all friends, Mike, Lloyd, and I. And I was, sitting around one day, and he said, "Come on over, man. There's a film I'm doing." And I said, "It's called Car Wash." And so I went over, and he and the great Ivan Dixon were sitting in the room. Ivan Dixon, who is one of the great directors and actors. And I sat down and read with Ivan. And I didn't think I had a chance because, Ivan Dixon and so on.
Yeah.
And Michael called me the next day and said, "Look forward to working with you."
Wow.
And it was one of the privileges of my life because we had the Pointer Sisters, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Danny DeVito, just great people to work with, and Anthony, what's his name? Tony Fargas.
Oh, yeah, Antonio Fargas.
Yeah.
Huggy Bear, for those of you who
are
not familiar with Antonio's work. He's a brilliant actor, yes. And still doing his thing.
Henry Kingi.
Jimmy Spinks.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Jimmy
Spinks.
I
love him.
I know.
His death was a real big blow to me.
Oh yeah. Great actors. And what we're talking about here is that, you see, he got a call from a friend, and he was prepared when that call came. Thusly, he got an opportunity to be a part of a historical making property. We have sort of an experience like that as well. And there's a movie called Cover that Bill Duke directed. Now, I'll segue into talking about Cover with the aspect of the fact that I got a call from a friend. His name was Bill Duke, and he said, "Oh, but listen, man, we're down here in Philadelphia, and we got some issues here. And can you get on a plane tonight?" He called me. He called Lou Gossett Jr.
That's right.
He called Clifton Davis. And if I'm not mistaken, y'all was sitting in a hotel room, and the bank had been dried up. And Bill said, "Oh, but I didn't know how I was going to get home, let alone finish this movie."
We used to sneak out of the back door of the hotel, not to go past the front desk because we could not pay the hotel bill.
See, so he called on his buddies, man, and we went down there, and we made some magic.
It was a great.
Made some magic happen. But now, that leads me to talk about the movie and why you chose to make that movie. For those of you who have not had an opportunity to see Cover, please get it. It is a must-see movie. It really is an important film. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Cover is a movie about men on the down low. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with that term, men who are in the down low, they don't say that they're gay, they don't say that they're straight, they say they're on the down low, or the DL, which means that they are involved with men and women per their choice, but they represent themselves sort of in a straight male's lifestyle. And Bill had a personal experience. Now, this is how somehow art can potentially save one's life or save someone else's life for the sake of the greater good. Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about the circumstances in your personal life that brought about the situation with you wanting to be involved in doing this movie?
A young lady brought a script to me. It wasn't about that exactly, but it had similar themes. In the meantime, one of my goddaughters let us know that she was HIV positive. Mm-hmm. She was married for 14 years, never had an affair, went to her doctor for a regular checkup. 2 weeks later, he said, "You got to come to the office right away." And she said, "What's wrong?" He said, "Well, you're HIV positive." And she said, "What are you talking about? I've been married for 14 years. I said, you better go home and talk to your husband." She went home and she confronted her husband, and her husband asked her, "Who have you been sleeping with?" First thing he said to her. And they had a big fight and everything. But she said she stayed there with him because her thought was, well, who else would want me?
Ooh, man.
So she stayed in a relationship. And after a certain time, they fought again, and she stabbed him. And she went to jail. And he bailed her out. And she stayed because she said, who else would want me? And based upon that, many of us in the family were very angry. Making a movie was not our first thought.
Yeah, I get you. I get you.
Engaged in other
activities.
Thoughts and activities. But after a sobering kind of conversation with my godson, etc., I decided I want to use media to discuss this issue beyond my circumstance. But a number of people I knew who were in a similar situation. And so I decided to develop and do Cover.
And in developing this, you came upon a lot of statistics.
Oh, yes.
Just share with our listening audience some of the statistics as it pertains to right now, today, the statistics that speak to those that are HIV infected in one particular city. Let's just take one city.
Okay, I'll give you one city. Let's take our capital, Washington, D.C.
Okay.
1 out of 4 black men in Washington, D.C. is HIV infected.
1 out of 4.
Out of all of the cases of AIDS in America with women, 70% are black women.
70% of all cases of females infected are black women.
Go online and look under Bug Chaser.
Mm-hmm.
Bug Chaser is a website of men who are trying to get AIDS.
What?
Based on the fact that their lover has it, or based upon the fact that they know they're going to get it, so they want to get it under controlled conditions.
Wait a minute. There's a website.
Bug Chaser. There's another website called giftgiver.com. And these are people who trusted their mates and were betrayed by them and got AIDS. And their purpose now is to give as many people as possible AIDS as they can. Gift Giver.
Wow. How's that for some sobering information? Here we are dealing with the circumstances where this terrible disease, people who are unfortunate enough to fall victim to it, fighting to maintain their dignity. A young lady, faithful in her marriage for 14 years, comes up HIV positive. And then we have others who are, out of their anger, because they're HIV positive or have somehow feel that they've been or have been betrayed by their lovers, are out now to cause other people to get infected. I mean, we're dealing in some serious times here, ladies and gentlemen. Clearly, I'm glad that, Bill, you chose to make this movie so that people identify that they are not alone in their circumstance and situation. It was unto itself a healing experience, we hope. I know that the energy on the set, I told you that we went in and generally on a set, you try to make your day, which means that we try to complete the work that is scheduled for the day, which is always extremely challenging because of the things that come up in the course of shooting a film. Well, we came to our brother Bill. We not only completed the day's work, but we went on to go beyond and complete days' work that yet had been set up. And the crew would say to Bill, well, no. Bill says, okay, we're moving on. He goes, well, we're not set to move on. He said, well, then get set, because I got my folks here, and we're getting ready to do this. And we're going to do this the way it should be done. This is what happens when you work with seasoned professionals, he said. He says, now, set it up, or we're shooting it as it is here. They went to work, and we were able to get ahead of the schedule.
That's right.
Which then increased the producers and those surrounding the circumstance in realizing, wait a minute, Bill Duke is an exceptional director. He's not just a good director, he's an exceptional director, and he always wanted these people to begin with. And we said, well, we can get some other people because those people are expensive. And he said, yeah, and look at what it cost us. We could have been ahead of the game had we had the kind of people that I initially said that I wanted. You see, again, when the call comes, be ready. I always say you can't wait until you get into the batter's box to start practicing your swing. When you get in that batter's box, you got to be swinging for the fence. We're going to take another quick commercial break, and we're going to come right back. I got Bill Duke in the studio today, and I am thrilled that he's here. And come back to us.
I'm sorry, babies. I have no gifts for you this year. But I do have something I can share with my cousins. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose,
Yuletide carols being sung by a choir and folks dressed up like Eskimos. Everybody knows a turkey and some mistletoe helps to make the season bright. Tiny tots with their eyes all aglow find it hard to sleep tonight. They know that Santa's on his way. He's loaded lots of toys and goodies on his sleigh, and every mother's child is gonna spy to see if reindeer really know how to fly. And so I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 92. And so it's been said many times, many ways. Merry Christmas to you. And so I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 92. Yeah, although it's been said many times, many ways. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa to Come on, y'all, sing it with me.
Here we are in the holiday season, and that was the Christmas song. And that video, if you're getting an opportunity to listen to the music, is sensational. But if you get a chance to see it, it was directed by my partner here and writer for the show, Mr. Kennedy Goldsby, who we've got an opportunity to do lots of projects together, man. And he laid that out, boy. It's a great video and a wonderful holiday song. Before we go forward, today there was a happening, very sad happening, which seems to be happening more and more in the American community, where gunmen are taking into our schools and identifying themselves in a way that we would not want to have them identify themselves. And today some children lost their lives.
17 children.
17 children lost their lives.
Elementary school.
Elementary children age. So at this time, we'd like to do a moment of silence for those families. I'd like to ask you to, at this moment, offer up a prayer that they be comforted in the best way that they could possibly be in a time which I could not even fathom how one would feel having lost their child when sending it to school. So a moment of silence. Thank you. In studio, I have my dear friend for over 35 years, Mr. Bill Duke. And he is absolutely a joy. And oh my goodness, you know, there are times that life gives you surprises. And we have guests that sometimes stop by and surprise me. And just as it is today, I have had a new guest just join me. I'm not going to introduce him yet. I'm going to let him get situated, and then I'm going to bring him to the studio audience's attention. But going on to, before I introduce my next friend who just arrived, to surprise me today, who I'm thrilled over the fact that he would join me. But I'm not going to introduce him. I'm going to let you guys just hang out for a second, because you're going to flip out when you see who it is. But Bill did a production called "Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death" on Broadway. And Bill, tell us about who it's a book. It's a play of poems.
Yes.
By
Melvin Van Peebles.
Melvin Van Peebles.
Yes, the great Melvin Van Peebles.
And who were some of the people that were in that production with you? Tony Breland.
Tony Breland, Garrett Morris, Minnie Gentry.
Yes. Barbara Alston.
Who else?
Joe Fields.
Joe Fields, the great Joe Fields. I learned so much about acting. I was a newbie, you know, and I used to stand in the wings every night when I was not on stage and just watch these actors who are very, seasoned and powerful and courageous. And in the daytime, many of them worked in the post office or worked regular jobs. And then they would come to the theater at night. And no one really knows, their names. They never were big stars or anything. But almost everything I know about this business was based on my just observing them and talking to them after Arthur French, and I mean, the
list goes on.
I'm talking about. Anyway, it was a great experience.
And in that, these poems were dealing with street life and the experience of street life.
The great Gilbert Moses directed it.
Great Gilbert Moses directed, and there was an actress, B. Wynn, who was just,
hey, Brown Sugar.
Hey, Brown Sugar, are you ever gonna come back and dance with me? It was a scene that we're referring to as a scene between two women. There used to be a place in New York called the Women's House of Detention.
Yes.
And the Women's House of Detention, you would walk by and the people would be calling up, standing on the street corner, calling up to their female lovers. And it would be men and women. And this particular scene was between two women. Now, this was the early 70s that this production was done. So you didn't have this kind of open women's gay liberation. So that this was cutting edge. This was powerful. And you never saw a more tender, loving expression of what it was between two people who loved each other, who happened to be women, but it was the most touching scene. And these Tony Breland, Asafa, hi soldier, hi sailor.
Remember Dick Anthony Williams?
Dick Anthony Williams, the great Dick Anthony Williams. Smile, Brown Sugar. It's Salamaji's birthday.
That's right.
Smile and the world smiles. His wife, Gloria Edwards,
That's right.
at the time. These are things. But the reason I wanted to bring that up is that there was a representation of street life. And people look at Bill Duke and they think, wow, man, he's a really well-dressed and tailored and brilliant director and actor. But Bill Duke knows a little bit about street life. Don't you, Bill? Because during that time, there was also the proliferation of the drug issue. Now, without putting out too many, much information about individual life, but Bill, talk to us about that, because it's not about where you start. It's about where you end up.
That's true.
So talk to me a little bit about your experience in that area, and then what it was that has helped you to now transition from that.
Well, I'll try to do as briefly as possible. I was into drugs pretty deeply at that time in the 70s, and I had gotten to the point, I'll give you two incidents. One, a girlfriend of mine, and I had no money, no food, almost homeless, and I'd gone to the A&P with this big coat, and we had sewn these big pockets on the inside. And I went to the meat counter and tried to steal some pork chops and some. And she saw the guard observe us, and she told me to put it back. And when I got to the front register, she'd bought some like cookies or something, and she said, the guard said, "He's got meat." And I opened the coat. There was nothing there. I said, "See, picking on a black man." See what I'm saying? Picking on a black man. And so that was a true story. And I think one of the lowest points for me is 2 points. I was panhandling because I had nothing, literally on the street, and had my hand out looking for money from somebody. And this older lady, black lady in her 80s, came by me, and I looked in her face. I said, "Ma'am, can I have some money?" And she passed by, and I thought she was gone. It's a true story. She tapped me on my back. And I turned around and she said, "Baby, do your mama know you out here doing this?" And that was a very powerful moment. I didn't panhandle after that. And the last thing I'll tell you is that I was going to move from downtown to uptown, and I was painting this apartment that I was on 91st, 21st, and 2nd Street, and I'd had a Billy Bat acid trip, and I was on a bus going uptown, and I saw this cloud in the window, and I thought the CIA had put gas in the cloud.
Wow.
And so I got off the bus, and I was walking down the street toward my apartment, and the cloud got lower because I thought it was going to poison me. So at first I was standing, and then I ended up crawling on the sidewalk with the paint so the cloud wouldn't get me, and I crawled up my steps and into my apartment, and I collapsed in this pile of garbage and paint chips, right? And I woke up and I said out loud, "Well, Bill, you're going to go up from here or down from here?" And I passed out. When I woke up, the next day I started, just God, I started sitting in the back of churches, cathedrals. I just sit in the back for first 2 hours and then half the day. I think it was God talking to me, it was God was talking to me. And my friend Inga Tangamana, who did transcendental meditation, I was in Exposed Natural Death shortly after that. And she said, "Bill, you're really in bad shape, man. You got to do something." I said, "Leave me alone." She said, "I do meditation, I know it sounds corny to you." She said, "But just try it." I said, nah. And so one day after I came in, I was really high, and I was really in bad shape. She said, "Just try it." So she initiated me the next day, and I tried it, but it was interesting, but, I was still taking drugs, so I didn't really get it. And so a week passed, and she said, "Bill, I'll make a bet with you. If you meditate for 2 weeks straight without taking any drugs, and you want to take drugs after that, I will buy you an ounce of anything you want."
Wow.
I said, "Bet." Because my whole thing is, I'm going to get through this.
Yeah.
The first 3 days, I felt not too much. The second 3 days, something started to happen. And the next 3 days, what I was looking for in the drugs, I found in myself through my meditation.
Wow, how about that?
And that was in the early 70s.
Yes.
I have not touched a drug since.
Y'all hear that? You see, this is why I wanted Bill to share that story. Because as I said, it's not like where you start, it's where you end up. And thank you for sharing that, Bill.
Transcendental meditation, man, I'm telling you.
All right. Thank you for sharing that story. it's a beautiful story, and it's a powerful story, and it's one that speaks to the growth and development of a human being, the one we know now as Bill Duke, and now in studio, who just surprised me, and I'm thrilled. I can't believe it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Michael Jai White just walked in and is going to join us. Mike, what's up, baby?
Hey, man. How you doing?
Oh, man. Today is a great day because I got friends in the studio. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with the name, but you certainly know, this man is a force to be reckoned with, literally and figuratively. You know, you've seen him in Spawn. You've seen him in a movie that I am thrilled to be a part of, Black Dynamite. The career is ongoing and endless. But let me tell you something about the man. We have such a great time whenever we get together. We were years ago. Don Lewis had a party, right? It was a '70s party, and we had to come dressed as your favorite '70s character, right? And I came as the dude that had on. Now, identify this. We're in California, okay? It's in the summertime. It's like 95 degrees, and I got on a coyote coat and a big hustler hat, right? Michael is dressed in like an Applejack and like a pop locker, right? Remember that, Mike?
Oh, yeah. That was the party, man. that was actually, it planted a little seed for Black Dynamite later. Because it's just such a fun thing. You know, any kind of theme party, it makes people come out of their own little funk, you know, because you got to be a part of it, you know. So you can't be cool anymore. You know?
And man, we did the Soul Train line, man, and y'all know Mike can kick and punch, but y'all ain't seen Mike when he starts to put on his pop lock thing.
That was one of my hustles back in the day. I used to do pop and break and everything.
Yeah,
but man, it's so incredible. It's so wonderful to come and see you guys. You guys are my big brothers. Yeah. I mean, I didn't expect to see, you know, Bill. I came in here, you know, and I mean, it feels like home.
Oh man, it is home, and man, you're welcome here. You know, we are like I'm so honored that you would come. Now, you know, let's talk about Black Dynamite. So since we did it, because we were talking earlier with Bill about, you know, how we're able to, you know, at this point in our life and career, be able to rely on the friendships that we have made to help us do the kind of work that we desire to do. And I know that in Black Dynamite, just the way you came and said, Obba, we met at there's like a place here, a shopping center, and it's got several restaurants. And he said, Obba, listen, man, maybe I want to show you something. So we hang out, and he shows me. He takes out his phone, and he says, look at this, man. I got this idea for this movie, and I shot this trailer. It was unreal. What he had shown me, what he had done on his phone, what he had already done, I was like, Mike, if you want me, you just tell me when I'm going to be there. He says, I mean, I just think it's going to be great, and I got this idea for this character that I want you to play, right? And the rest is history, man. And then when I showed up and we were the Pimp Council. right. And one of my lines, if you guys remember, if you haven't seen Black Dynamite, you got to get it right away, because it is something that you will watch over and over and over again. It was the first movie to sell.
I mean, it really broke a lot of records. I mean, in the Czech Republic, it got standing ovations. It won like different film festivals in other countries.
Yes.
It's just one of these things where, you know, the whole world grew up on our movies.
There you go.
You know?
There you go.
And, you know, there's this thing that they want to say that, you know, our films don't do well overseas, which is just such an untruth. There's never been an action one that hasn't, you know, really. That's why, you know, Brother Wesley has been so significant for so many years.
Right.
You know,
right.
But you know, it's one of those things where you just have to venture out and do it. And you know, I was able to go into battle with my friends like yourself. You know,
yeah, man.
That was wonderful, and I was just so happy to be on set and everybody else happy, and us, you know, really showing how much talent there is out there. You know, there's no excuse. We just need to keep forging forward and getting things done ourselves.
There you go.
have an abundance of talent that's underutilized and underappreciated, and we know how to put our stuff together. And now the next part of it, the next salvo, is now that I've been producing and directing.
Yes,
I've got more of a hand in marketing.
Okay.
Which we know how to put it together, and we know how to market as well.
There you go. Yeah. See, this is for those of you that are interested in the entertainment industry. This is very, very important. Bill was talking about this earlier. We talked about it with Cover. Calling on people. And Michael just alluded to the specifics of how that someone telling you that your properties are not valuable in other areas is not true, but it has to meet a standard of excellence. It's not just because you own a camera that makes you a filmmaker. There is the understanding of what it takes to put that film together, a standard of excellence. And when you put that standard of excellence out there, people respond to it. Absolutely. Case point in the two movies that we're just talking about with these two writer, director, producers, Bill Duke and Michael Jai White. Now, tell me. How did, because a lot of people would want to know this, how did the martial arts help you in forging a way into the industry of entertainment? I think there was something that my researchers were sharing with me that you had a situation with Steven Seagal at the early onsets of your career.
Well, actually, when I first started, I made sure that I didn't really do anything connected with martial arts, even though I was offered a contract by a B movie martial arts type of outfit they were doing a lot of those type of movies then. But I wanted to be established as a dramatic actor first.
Right.
And so by the time I really did any martial arts on screen, it was Universal Soldier: The Return, and I had executives thinking, whoa, was he doubled or did he do that? So
right.
Which is good because they're thinking about the actor first. They're going, maybe he was doubled,
Yeah.
And so, with Spawn and Tyson and all those things, those weren't martial art movies.
Right.
Then, it's
Tyson
hard to.
was a great movie, though.
Thank you. It was the first impression is as an actor. And, with Mike Tyson, everybody knew who he was. So if I got that wrong, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. So it was just one of those type of things. And then, because then it's like, there's too many people they do the martial arts stuff, and then they're written off as that's what you are.
Exactly.
I did two movies that had martial arts in it, and then. I was, the industry tried to peg me to be just an action guy, even though I started on stage.
Right. Right.
Because that's what people want to do. They pigeonhole you, they put you in a box. So that's why I chose to do this route, because there are executives that run things that they only can think of me as an actor because that's the initial thing. So They're like, oh yeah, he's an actor first. I remember you in this.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? The joy that we experience here is having two gentlemen who really have been pace setters, standard bearers in the entertainment industry. I'm thrilled that you guys have joined me today. Mike, thank you for taking the time. I know he's got so many things. Bill, for taking the time. We're just about out of time here for today's show. But I'm going to have you, if you will, Mike, to come back again, man, when we can do a whole show where, since now that I know that you know where I'm at, that you'll come by and just spend a whole day with me, man.
I would love to, brother. I would love to. And, Bill and I got a movie coming out.
Oh, tell us about it.
We did a movie last year.
Talk about it, man.
Yeah, it's called Freaky Deaky.
Okay.
It's called Freaky Deaky.
That sounds like a Bill Duke. It's a movie.
It's based on your life story.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much, Bill. I appreciate that.
It's off of Elmore Leonard novel, and we shot it in Detroit. And Bill and I got to hang out, and I got to get some of you guys' sophistication to rub off on me, because I'm still a country boy. Me and Bill hung out, went out to
concert.
Went out to a concert with Jill Scott and Anthony Hamilton, and my butt forgot to put gas in the car.
Oh man!
It's true, man. I forgot about that.
Yeah, me and Bill Duke off on the side of the highway in Detroit. That's right. Yeah, I had to call a friend. We was in the hood.
You're in the hood.
We was in the hood. Just broke down. Just like I'm talking about. Whoa. I forgot to put.
Thank God for AAA, right?
Right.
Listen.
And thank God for my boy Ramsey. It came with some gas.
Well, listen, we're thrilled.
Great.
I'm so thrilled that they have these brothers in the studio with me today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Please come back and spend time with us. Tell folks about us here on Masterpiece Theater. And remember, as I always say, in life, how you do anything is how you do everything. Make sure you do everything to the best of your ability. Take good care of yourself. God bless you, and we'll see you next time. Masterpiece Theater is brought to you by Roscoe's Media Center, sponsored by Roscoe's House of Chicken and Waffles, the makers of Pitbull Energy Drink. The show is engineered by Poetess, written by Obba Babatunde and Kennedy Goldsby, and produced by Paul Goldsby, executive producer, The Good Herb.